Rita, we'll start with you. Let's tell us about your situation and your student.
Okay, so my daughter graduated in July this year, and she did a BA honours in business management with marketing. She came out with a first, so that was all good. Did have a couple of things like second interviews and things lined up, and because of COVID, the schemes actually decided that they weren't going to recruit. So she's currently working at Morrison's, and she's in the people team. So she's actually applied. She did apply last year for the graduate scheme there, but wasn't quite, I don't think she was mature enough to take it any further, let's say. Yeah. So this time she's actually she's waiting to hear. And twice already the interview's been postponed, which is just so disheartening, because she's now decided that before she wanted to do the marketing role, but she's been doing the people team in Morrison's and she enjoys HR.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I suppose she's in a bit of better position because she wants marketing jobs and HR jobs.
Yeah.
But I don't know, she's just, whenever we're talking about it, it's always, there's nothing coming up. And I don't know if she's looking in the right positions. And I mean, I always think that this is the right time to apply now if you want to start in September on a graduate scheme. But what is the market like out there? I'm not completely 100%, sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, big things that have had an impact, Brexit and also COVID have really impacted on the number of positions that are available in the UK. Brexit has had an impact, particularly I would say on functional roles, so like the types of role that your daughter's looking for, because where you would have had a lot of European headquarters previously in the UK, they now need to have a European headquarters in a European country. They'll still have that office in London, but it might be that actually the headquarters elements of it has to be out of a European country if they want to be kind of trading and
Europe,
making use obviously of that Eurozone. So that does mean that when organisations have had to set up in these countries, and the predominant countries they've moved to are Luxembourg, Germany and Ireland. They're the three countries that most companies moved to. And they've had to set up there, they have to have at least a managing director, they have to have a head of finance there, and they have to have like a head of HR there. So at first a lot of companies thought they could just set up like in name only, like just call, like say they might already have had an office in France or Italy or whatever, and just say, well, that's our headquarters now, but actually all the operational aspects of that head office are still in the UK. But they weren't allowed to do that. It has to be a true head office function that's happening in this other country. So for that reason, some of those functional roles aren't available in the UK. Instead, they're now in these other countries. So that's one thing that has impacted on recruitment this year. Now, that might change come next year. Just obviously right now everybody's still getting their head around Brexit and what does it actually mean in the grand scheme of things now that it's live. But also then with COVID now, probably we saw 2/3 of the jobs we would commonly see in place automatically being kind of taken off the table when it came to graduate and student roles. But the majority of them were actually student internships that they took away. A lot of companies, they decided to retain their graduate programs but just not recruit as many numbers. And actually what we've seen in a report yesterday is 50% of companies in the UK have said that they will be going out to market to recruit from June.
Right.
you know, and that will include a number of different opportunities for your daughter that aren't just graduate programs. So I'll come back to that in a wee minute. In terms of the graduate market itself, once we got to August last year, and it was kind of, oh, things were getting a bit better, and we were starting to think about, obviously at that point, people perhaps going back to work in offices and things like that. They were wanting to open up the cities a bit more. Some companies at that point just advertised as they normally would. They just advertised for the same number, and actually what we saw was that the reduction, that initial 2/3 reduction that we saw, wasn't the case. It actually went to being just 1/3 reduction in the number of graduate roles that were going to be reduced. So at that point we were like, well, the market's not as bleak as we thought it was going to be for early careers. Now, a lot of the reasons for that are, with companies, they recognise that this is not just a short-term piece of recruitment they're doing. They want to recruit graduates to hopefully then become like future managers or specialists in their business. So they want that talent pipeline. And the last time we had a big kind of drop in graduate recruitment was back in the financial crash, 2008, 2009. And companies are now seeing a big gap in their middle management populations, where they now need to go out to market and pay more money to bring somebody in for those roles. So they recognise that actually if they stop recruitment altogether, then that damages them for a lot longer than just this year. So they are trying to avoid it where they can. So so there are still jobs that are there, and there are still jobs that are being advertised in the standard time frame we would normally see. So companies started advertising really the ones that are always kind of quick off the mark in September and October, but generally a lot of them start advertising from November, December and into January. And then you would see the final third of roles kind of being advertised about this time of year. So out of those 60% of companies that are going to recruit this year, a third of them will start to recruit about now. I would say for your daughter, actually looking for a functional place on a graduate programme is quite difficult. It's difficult to find them because they tend to advertise for things like, if you're an engineering company, you advertise because where the engineers are going to be, because that's going to be the biggest bulk of the graduates you're looking for. If a company's looking for 20 graduates, then 16 or 17 of them will be engineers, and the other 3 will be the functional roles like the business graduates. So if they've got a lot of money to spend on their and invest in their recruitment campaigns, they're going to spend that just on, like, yeah, this is where we'll get the majority of people getting oversight of this. So yeah, there's specific websites obviously for different kind of fields of study. So for engineering, or for say companies that manage logistics, or companies that are in FMCG type markets. So they'll advertise on those platforms. And the difficulty then for someone like your daughter who's studied or interested in marketing or HR is she's got to look at all of them to then be able to find the jobs that are applicable to her. So it does make it that it's more work probably for her to then go in and do that, and it's more time then to do it, and it can be quite daunting actually when you don't really know where to start. So I would say that when she's saying there's not really anything out there, it's probably because it's hard for her to see it, because they will talk predominantly about whatever their business operations is rather than the functional roles. So yeah, I don't know if that's helping with
to look further afield. look at all the sectors and then see what's in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got some links to job boards that we would use, and like some of them are more like, yeah, these are for STEM subject graduates, or these are for small businesses, or these are for you know, roles that are for entry level roles but not necessarily graduate positions. So
Yeah.
we can share those links with you so that you've got them, and it
Yeah.
might just give her a better kind of sense of this is where to start from, but also see her um like when she goes into these sites, they will still advertise that they are looking for business people. It will be on a site that's for, like, as I said, engineering graduates. That wouldn't be the first place in her head to go and look.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be quite actually overwhelming. So when graduates go to like these events, whether they're virtual recruitment events or face to face, when you go to them and you go and speak to some of the people that are managing the stalls at these events, and you tell them what they're studying, and they'll go, yeah, we're looking for one of them. And you're standing in a room that's got like 20,000 people in it. So even that is quite like, oh, I might as well not bother, because like, you know, so it's quite overwhelming for, I would say, the functional graduates to think about where to start with it. I think her situation just now with Morrison's is very, I would say, quite positive, because the people in that people team will advocate for her if she's strong, and they've said to her, why don't you apply? They will advocate for her when it comes
Yeah.
to the processes. I would say to her not to get put off by the delays. Um, that's just at the moment, obviously, when you've got like these big companies like Morrison's, Tesco, Waitrose, and so on, they're they need, although like the assessment centres will be managed by HR, they need people from the business to be involved in them. And at the moment, with like them practically being the only shops open, uh,
Yeah.
you know, their business operations people will probably find it difficult to get out off the shop floor, to move away from the operations to focus on that. So I would say it's nothing to do with that Morrison's don't want to bring in the graduates. I would say that I would be actually astounded if Morrison's or any of the big supermarkets didn't recruit graduates this year, or postponed, because they have thrived during this. But the issue they've got at the moment is being able to, as I say, get the right people out of the day-to-day operations to be part of the selection process. So
Yeah.
she might know that, she might not, but I would say to her, don't be worried that that's been pushed back a couple of times. It will still happen. And I know that's difficult when she's already had interviews just like taken away right at the beginning of this. It does demotivate you, and it does impact the confidence. But it sounds like you're helping there in the background to try and boost that confidence for her.
So do most graduate schemes start in September, do they?
A lot of them do start in September, because they avoid the summer months, because there's so many people on holiday, and when the graduates start, they need to make sure the line manager's there, their mentors there, and the person in the HR's there. So they want to make sure that the support network's in place. So they generally start at September time. There will be some that might say, actually, if you're available earlier than that, you can start in the business earlier than that, but your development side won't start until September. And then what we're seeing at the moment is, because depending on the type of organisation, obviously you've got organisations that have just kind of gone a bit like they don't exist anymore, or they've had to furlough everyone, or they've kind of fallen by the wayside just because the COVID rules don't let them kind of operate the same way. So for those industry sectors, when they can recruit and they are looking for people, so starting from June, potentially even though they'll advertise before June, but from June you might see more companies saying, well, we're going to put that on hold, but actually we'll just delay the start date rather than not recruit at all. So there might be some late opportunities that come on in kind of June, July time. And then you might see a start date that would be still September, October, November time for that. But companies that have actually thrived, who have been busier than they thought they ever would be because they are online or they're involved in marketing, or they're part of a supply chain for supermarkets, for example, like you tend to see some of them saying recruiting, interviewing now, like, so they're advertising, they're interviewing, and people are starting within a month or so. So it depends on the industry sectors that she's applying to, and for some of that I would say to her, what interests you, because it's quite good if you get into an industry sector that you actually enjoy, regardless of whether you're in HR, marketing, or you're like, in retail or whatever it might be. If she enjoys the type of company and industry sector, then she'll probably find she connects easier with that. That might be easier for her also then, and she'll feel more confident when she goes through.
I think it's definitely retail. I think she's worked since she was, God, 14 in a shop.
Yeah.
And she's a people's person. She does enjoy chatting to people, and she likes that sort. So I think it is more retail that she will be looking, trying to get into, I think.
Yeah. And I know that for Marks and Spencers, they changed their graduate programs to really focus on the food side of their business. So I would say to her to maybe try and have a look at that one. It's a bit more, when you think about Marks and Spencers, you think, oh, they're not probably going to be recruiting that many people, because their actual clothing side of things is not operating at the moment. But actually for them, they had already, prior to COVID, changed their program to focus on their supply chain for the food, and just really the kind of food side of things, because they were already in decline in terms of their retail kind of fashion side.
Have you got some sites that are good to look on that you can then go on to?
Yep. So Laura's put in the link here in the chat, sorry, our link to free resources. So if she clicks on that, it'll take her to our kind of free resources site, and on there's a number of different websites that we would recommend. She can just click on them, and also with the with that free resources site, we've got a list of jobs that we've already looked at, and we've added them on there, and what type of graduates they're looking for, and kind of there's links directly to those sites to advertise for, and it's got the closing dates on there as well, so she'll know which ones are most suitable for her. I would also say, when it comes to June and this report that we had yesterday, that 50% of companies are going to start recruiting, post-COVID, that a lot of that will probably happen through agencies, so through recruitment agencies, because you'll probably find that companies might say, right, we need somebody in very quickly, and we're not quite sure what this is going to look like over the next kind of year, so we'll bring somebody in for 6 months or 9 months or a year on a fixed term contract, and then at the end of that time they'll decide whether they want that job to kind of be extended or become permanent, or if actually they don't need that skill, it's something else they need, so it might just be the end of the contract. But I would suggest that your daughter tries to get in with some good agencies around about your local. Where are you based?
Oh, we're in Dorset. But she wants to be in Bristol because she studied there, so it'd be worth just looking at some in Bristol then for her, I suppose.
And I mean, there's I would say, like, in general, companies like Hayes, Hayes has got its own HR function, and it's a big national company, so they get oversight anyway of roles from out with their own area. So that would be a good place for her to start. But if she even just Googles recruitment agencies specialist in HR and puts in like Bristol, then that will bring up like the best ones for her to contact, because especially when companies are looking for a quick turnaround in recruitment and they don't have HR resource, if they advertise 5 or 6 roles, that could be 3,000 to 5,000 applications they'll get for that. And if they don't have the resource to devote to that, they'll go straight to an agency and get the agency to do that bit. They'll kind of outsource it. So if she registers with them, but also I would say whoever she registers with, whoever her contact is, get her to phone them once a week, not email them.
Well, that's the hard point, because they don't like talking to people, do they? The younger generation, and it's like, just ring.
I know, but and that is the hard thing. And I think if you encourage her to do it, even help her write a wee script or something, because sometimes it's that whole, I don't know what I'm going to say, because it's somebody I've not spoken to before, and this isn't a situation I've been in before. And 2, I don't really want anyone listening when I'm on the phone, because they don't really know what they're doing. It's I actually feel that's one of the worst things about mobile phones and headsets in offices even. I learned a lot by listening to colleagues on the phone, talking to people, sorting out problems and dealing with challenging situations. Now what happens is everybody's got a headset on, you don't hear what's been said, or they take their mobile and they walk away into another room. So part of that learning just isn't even there. So even when she goes into the workplace, she's probably going to need to be more aware of listening into other people on the phone anyway. But the phone call with the agencies, like weekly, just needs to be 5 minutes, but it just keeps her present in their mind. This is someone who's pushing, they are interested in what opportunities are available, and although they'll have her in a system somewhere of, like, I don't know, 10,000 other applicants.
Yeah, it just props your name, doesn't it? Comes up
and they're always trying to shorten the time between they get told, you advertise this job for me, to when the person's in the job, because they get paid when the person's in the job. So if they know, yeah, she's a great candidate, straight away I can get her in front of them, and that could lead into already a selection process. So it's shortening that window for them. So the easier she can make their jobs, the easier it's going to be for them to remember her. So yeah. And so in terms of you as a parent and being able to support that, I think it is just, I think sometimes it's being able to help them recognise, well, when you go to have that conversation with the agency, what are some of the key skills you're going to talk about, and what is it that you want them to know about you and the job you're looking for. So let her have a practice conversation, and she's probably going to be like, oh, I don't want to have a practice conversation.
With my mum.
Probably more embarrassing to talk to you about it than it is to the agency person. But just being able to listen to her, you'll probably be able to say, what about this? Or remember you did that. And they always tend to think about, well, this is what I did at university and this is what I've done at work, if they've got any part-time work or the experience she's got just now. They don't think about all their other experiences, like any kind of team sports that they do, any kind of interest that they do, if they've done any community work or volunteering or caring work. They automatically think this is about a job, so I'll only focus on the knowledge piece. and the work piece. But actually, they need to be able to demonstrate that they're more rounded than that. So there'll be qualities that you see in her that she probably doesn't realise are a strength. So it's been able to help her see, you know, how helpful she is, or, you know, that she can just do things without thinking, or that she's got commitment to a certain thing, because you'll view that differently from her.
Yeah.
But it's for her to hear that will give her more confidence if she gets asked about a question in an interview or anything. So they're always looking for examples of when have you displayed this quality or that quality. So the more she can hear that, it will help her with her applications and her selection processes.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, so I'll just save that link.
Yeah. And yeah, and they're on there, and we kind of update the jobs on there like monthly, so they should be up to date for her, you know, regularly, so she can go in and out. And if she on that as well, if she herself is wanting any support, she can book in for a call, you know, and that's fine, you know, if she's wanting any help or advice with anything.
Thank you for today.
But that's fine. This is the first time we've done this. It's a new offering, and we're probably, like, parents aren't probably sure what they'll get out of this. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. And again, feel free to reach out yourself if there's anything that comes up that you think, I'm not quite sure how to support my daughter best with that, then please reach out.
All right. Thank you for today.
You're very welcome.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye. Bye.